Welcome back to Duel of the Debates, where we fight to the death, not really, where we have three fighters, where we argue a question, movie-related, and we see who's right, based on Dan's judgment.
Who are you?
I'm Danny.
I'm Dan. There we go. That's what I was waiting for. So yeah, Duel of the Debates. This is our fourth episode. We're going to be doing the worst tropes in movies. So like something like a cliche. Just think of it like that. A cliche in movies, that kind of thing. Let's introduce our fighters. We got Paul and Jade. Paul is a newcomer to this podcast. We're glad to have him here. And Jade is returning as usual, but for the first time on this podcast. So let's talk a little bit. Danny, do you want to go over the rules?
Yeah, so the Duel of the Debate rules. The objective is to convince the judge why your pick for the question is correct and the other fighters' picks are wrong. Makes sense, right? Okay, cool. Sure. The rules. The arguments. There needs to be objective reasoning behind why you chose your answer. Example, John Wick is better because Keanu Reeves looks like my band teacher from 8th grade is not an acceptable argument.
There goes my argument.
Yeah. Rip. Civility. We're all friends here. Although we can be passionate, there will be no sincere attacks on people's characters. We're all friends here. Objectivity. When deciding the winner, looking at you, Dan, the decision must be based on the arguments presented in the debate. So, like, you say, I like Danny's picks because he's amazing. Not really an acceptable argument, even though it's true.
Okay.
The times. Our opening arguments are going to be 1 minute per fighter. Rebuttal arguments are going to be 1 minute per fighter. There's going to be a free-for-all section where we are stopped at the judge's discretion, whether he asks us a question or something. And closing arguments, another minute per fighter. And that's the end of the show.
Hey, we're wrapping it up. No, just kidding.
End of the rules.
So, before we have our fighters introduce their tropes, let's roll the intro. All right. So, we're going to have our fighters introduce their tropes. Let's start with Danny. What is your worst movie trope?
I'm Danny. I got to pull up my my notes first, because now I actually
your quote-unquote notes.
My worst movie trope is coughing equals dying.
What does that mean?
So if you see a character cough, you just know they're gonna die.
Okay.
It's so clear. Right?
Okay. Paul, what is yours?
Ladies and gentlemen, in many movies, specifically romance movies, there always comes a point in those movies where you feel like the two characters are about to, profess their love, fall in love, live happily ever after. But then there always comes a point where there is some misunderstanding, some forced breakup.
Let's not give your whole thing away here. We're just introducing what
all right, fine. Forced third act breakup / misunderstandings in romance.
Who could ever love a beast so hideous and ugly? And princess and ugly don't go together.
All right, Jade.
Mine is romance related as well. It's enemies to lovers.
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
All right. Well, now, since Paul wanted to get ahead of himself, let's, you ready to go on the clock for your actual opening statement?
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Go ahead.
Clock's rolling.
In a lot of movies, specifically romance movies, there comes a point where you think the two characters are going to fall in love, live happily ever after, and, and that'll be the end of it. But, the movie might not be, maybe 20 minutes too short. So what they do is that they throw in this forced misunderstanding where two characters, like an example would be in The Wedding Singer. Drew Barrymore's about to go profess her love to Adam Sandler. And what happens? Adam Sandler's ex-girlfriend comes out and says, "Oh, we're back together, go away." And Drew Barrymore just believes her, doesn't talk to Adam Sandler at all, just believes her, goes and marries her douchebag boyfriend in Vegas, and Adam Sandler has to stop it. This is one of the laziest tropes you'll ever see. All it does is it's designed to prolong movies that really are wrapping up, and it's I feel it's a trope that can actually ruin some movies.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to Danny. You are up for your. You are on the clock.
That's me.
Yes.
I'm on the clock.
Yep.
Now I'm on the clock. Okay. Coughing equals dying. It's so cliche and lazy. It takes so much away from the suspense, like when Joffrey died. Spoiler alerts, by the way. I knew he was dead the second he coughed. The next 5 minutes was just a waste of time. I can't think of a time that it was put to good use or dramatic, or when it was dramatic. The Hunger Games, Inception, Return of the Jedi, Chernobyl, The Crown, House of the Dragon, How I Met Your Mother, or The Walking Dead, and even The Godfather. Right? Great movies. I fucking hate that trope, though.
Some of those more
Low-key
movies.
ruined it. How I Met Your Mother even made fun of this annoying trope when one of Marshall's doomsday scenarios was like Lily dying from an incurable hiccup disease after she hiccups once. Because like, oh my God, she's gonna die. 95% of the audience will be ahead of the curve if you show a character coughing. It's plain and simple. They're already cutting emotional ties, and it makes the majority of whatever happens next somewhat useless, if only the stakes are whether or not they will survive.
All right, thank you. Jade, you are on the clock.
Okay. All right. So enemies to lovers, very lazy as well. For this one, you can think of like 10 Things I Hate About You, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, all of those kind of like rom-com type of movies. What is upsetting about this is that this is the entire movie's premise. So it's not just the trope that kind of like lives in it. It is exactly what the movie is. So if the trope, if that is lazy, then the whole movie fails after that. So for an example, like it's meant to create tension between two characters, but you know that they will always end up together, and the beats that they're going to hit throughout the movie are always going to be the same. So it creates a challenge in watching to feel any kind of like, I don't know, empathy or relate to any of the characters because you know exactly what's going to happen next. I'm trying to think of what other movies that you can think of for this. You can think of even TV shows like Bridgerton, things like that. Like you know exactly what's going to happen next, and it's really frustrating.
All right. Cool.
I wish I noticed that timer when I was making my argument. So we could actually see it.
No, that's probably better because I'm like looking out the side of like the corner of my eye. Like,
Yeah.
like, what do I have
I
to
didn't know how long I was going.
All right. We are moving on to our rebuttal phase. So again, we'll start with Paul. But so this is just arguments against your opponents. So, Paul, you're on the clock.
Dan, your argument, it couldn't be, you might see it as annoying. It doesn't ruin any movie. Like, nobody watches it and been like, you know what, it was a great movie, but unfortunately they coughed it, then they died. So, you know what, that knocks off a star right there. Jade, enemies to lovers, it can be annoying, but it also can be done very well. I know this, I'm not even going to use it because I was going to mention a TV argument, but there are like 10 Things I Hate About You is a great movie. Like, even though it may use that trope, like Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger's chemistry is so good, even when they are like not necessarily like fond of each other. And what was that?
No, nothing. I'm taking away your time. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah, I would say mine is the only one that could actually like kind of affect your opinion of a movie. Jade, it could be done well, and Dan, it's annoying, but it doesn't hurt the movie all that much.
All right. Danny, you are on the clock for rebuttals.
All right, fuck yeah. All right. So, Jade, I'm gonna take you down real quick.
Okay.
Some of the best, most defining romance movies are built off of this trope. You got Pride and Prejudice, Sam and Diane from Cheers, Dirty Dancing, Leslie and Ben from Parks and Rec, Life as We Know It, which I think is really good. People don't like it, but You've Got Mail, and Sam and Freddie from iCarly. Oh, and Jon Snow and Ygritte from Game of Thrones, and Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Also, a little movie called Bridget Jones's Diary.
You can't chime in.
Ooh. Foreshadowing. Anyway, it has a concrete purpose to the plot. It's the basis for so many great stories. If you take this trope out or change it in some way, like you said, you will have a completely different story. What's the point of doing the movie? Third act, misunderstanding. If you change this in the story, you will have a completely different outcome. It's a great way to add tension, and when it's paired with a ticking clock, it can be super engaging. Like, story structure is all about changing the dynamics and having your characters weave around certain obstacles. So when they misunderstand each other, it's actually a great way.
I'll let you finish.
I had a lot more to go. So
Then no, never mind. Okay. Jade, you are on the clock.
Okay, well then I think I would start with Danny, and I would say I have to agree with Paul, but also just I had a hard time even finding instances of this, and I didn't know exactly what you meant, to be fair. So I didn't know if it was like you were going to be killed or whether you were going to die, but even still, I wouldn't say that this is a trope rather than it's just something that is part of people dying. Like, that's not a trope. That's just like what happens when people die. They cough. They also probably looked really tired. They also probably like slept a lot. They also probably were like in the hospital. That's just kind of like foreshadowing. So I wouldn't call that a trope. For Paul, I would say that I would also, I guess I don't want to say it's the same argument, but it's just like that is also story sequencing. Like, it's just like you have to add a little bit of conflict. Otherwise, it's just they're living happily ever after, and then it's just like a 30-minute movie. So then I guess for that, I don't know. Good.
All right. We are into our free-for-all phase, so you guys can just duke it out for the next however many minutes until I have a question for you, or you guys start talking in circles. So have at it.
Okay, I went first, so I'm going to start this one. I want to give more examples of my trope. Okay, think about Shrek. Think about Hitch. Think about 10 Things I Hate About You. Same thing. Think about Anyone But You. The entire premise is its third act misunderstanding. And my problem with it is that the problem is that all this could be solved by just two people talking to each other. And to me, that's lazy. It's about stubbornness, and it's just painful to watch.
But I guess the one thing you could say to that is just like people do not communicate all the time in real life. Like, that is realistic. Like, there are oftentimes conversations that you should be having that you are not having.
Yeah, yes. But I'm saying it doesn't make characters likable, because in real life you look at those people and like just talk.
The point of a movie or a character is to make them likable. It's to make them like realistic and relatable.
But if the entire conflict could be solved in one conversation, to me that's not very good conflict.
I mean, I guess to be fair, if you don't have that conversation and if there are emotional stakes that prevent you from having those conversations, there's still that conflict.
But look at a romance movie like, to me, the best romance movie of all time is Before Sunrise. You know why? It's about two people who meet each other, they like each other, they spend time together, they get to know each other, and they fall in love. To me, that's just as interesting as this a lot more like interesting. As this artificial BS about like, oh, we need to hate each other for.
It's all about the stakes, though.
That one, though, because I feel like I do feel the same way about my trope, so I'm not gonna.
Okay, so as somebody who's like gone down the deep rabbit hole of like screenplays and what makes good drama and stuff, one thing that they always say is, misunderstandings is the best way to do drama. Like, this guy gave an example of like,
that's their easiest.
Well, it's the most worked on. Like, you can definitely play around with it. I agree. It's not done that well so many times, but I don't think the trope itself is bad. The one example though is like this wife misunderstands what her husband says, like something like, "Oh, I went over to this person's house," and she's like, and then they have a disagreement, and he was telling the truth, and then he spends the night on the couch, but then they misunderstand each other when like oh yeah, okay, so like sorry, I'm totally fucking up this example, but Ross and Rachel, right?
Back to TV.
We were on a break. It's still talked about to this day. Like, what is it cool? Is it not? It actually sparks debate in real life, whether or not like the dating rules and that's just for dating. But it can also work in like comedies, like.
But Ross and Rachel weren't about to live happily ever after with that misunderstanding. They were about to break up.
Well, were they though? Because
yes.
They were on a break.
But the whole thing started because he was jealous of her coworker.
Right.
So they
misunderstanding.
They're already
right?
having problems. It's not
very engaging.
I'm talking like, you remember the movie Friends with Benefits with Timberlake and Kunis? The part where like they're on vacation, they're about to fall in love, and then he overhears her be like, "Oh, I can never be in a relationship with someone like that." Like, that's the misunderstanding.
But that's not a misunderstanding. He literally said that.
See, the thing is,
he said that, but
that happens in real life. Like, so I agree. Like,
you pin your head against the door and overhear people have these conversations about you, and then you're like, I'm not even going to confront this person. I'm just going to run away.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about you today, kid.
I like to deal with things on my own.
But there are people like that, I guess is the point, who avoid conflict, who don't want to have those conversations.
Okay. And also I want to bring up, can you name me one person you've met who's been dying and never coughed?
Never. Okay, no, it's not the coughing itself. It's like you can't have anybody just cough in a movie and have it not mean anything.
What if they're smoking?
That means they're dying of lung cancer.
No, it doesn't. It means they're smoking. I've seen lots of movies where they're
But that-
like Harold and Kumar. None of them died.
But to me, that's just
Well, they're gonna.
that's just more annoying than anything. It's like it annoys me when people are on the phone in a movie and then they don't say goodbye and just hang up.
That is annoying.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I'm saying. It's annoying, but it doesn't ruin a movie for you. James Bond does it all the time. I don't hate James Bond's movies because of it.
Yeah, but it's badass when he does it.
What about that person on the other line going like, James? Oh, okay.
It's just like it's the fact that like all the tension's just gone for the entire scene. Like they're gonna die now. Oh well, whatever. You know, now I have to watch this 5 minutes of just this fucking character just be like,
Yeah, but with Joffrey, you wanted that death to be as long and painful as possible, so you were there
and
for
it
it.
wasn't like it was like the beginning of the season and he coughed and like later episodes later it's like I fucking knew
Yeah,
it.
he drank
was gonna die.
poison.
He
I would be
literally
shocked if he
was
didn't cough.
dying.
Well, the thing is, I think the Joffrey death is just done terribly because like the second he coughed, okay, he's dead. I don't care anymore. What they did with
care that
Viserys, where they
Joffrey
played
died?
around with just how bad can this guy get, like because he's coughing in episode 1, we're like, oh shit.
But
he's
again,
gonna
that's
die.
just like disease progression.
All right.
But like I know that he's gonna die.
Danny, can you give me
He's
any
diseased.
other examples besides Joffrey?
Also,
Okay,
this
I'll
is
give-
movie tropes, isn't it?
I'll give you an example of a good way to do somebody's dying.
No, that's not what I asked.
I didn't come up. I didn't do much. Anyway,
But okay, go ahead. I'll allow it.
you know Ellie is gonna die because
Who?
Ellie from what?
Ellie from Up.
Oh,
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Yep,
When
yep.
she it's not the stereotypical cough, right? She's like she's slowly she's
She
going
was,
up
like,
the
falls
hill.
over.
She getting slower up the hill. They do another shot and then she
in
kind
the
of
hospital,
stumbles
yeah.
on the bottom. Like that's a good way to do that, right? Like it's just like okay, how do you it's like if you like do a cliche of like, oh, this character is Italian, put him in a wife beater and slick back his hair. Like
you just think it's
it's
lazy.
like, oh, goodbye. You know?
Okay,
Like,
but I
it's-
can guarantee. But there was no sound in that scene from Up. I can guarantee if there was sound, we would have heard her cough.
I beg to differ. There's a wonderful soundtrack.
There is, yes, but I'm saying you can't hear the characters in that scene.
All right, Jade, can we go on to your subject a little
Oh, yeah,
more?
you
Enemies to
have-
Well,
lovers.
that's because it's a fucking good pitch, so nobody has anything to say.
Well, I mean, there's so many classic movies.
Well, he gave plenty of
I-
examples of how it's done
every
well.
romance movie.
Right.
That's it.
That movie, Bridget Jones's Diary, is such a classic.
I love that one.
Well, I guess to be fair, it's like if you don't like the trope, then none of those movies work, right? And I would say in terms of its effectiveness, it does create a sense of like there are no stakes, right? Like you know exactly what's going to happen in every single one of those movies. And I would say, is it not just a better movie if, for an example, in 10 Things I Hate About You, he's just like somebody that she does get along with from the beginning, knowing that she was an outcast herself. Like they didn't need the added tension of them two not getting along. They were already so similar that they would have hit it off so well and had such good chemistry in that world.
I don't even know if it's them not getting along. She obviously didn't like him, but she didn't like anybody. But he never really showed signs of like hating her.
Well, except for he treated her like shit and that he like went behind her back, and the whole premise of them dating
Yeah,
was
but not
a
because he
joke.
hated her. He just
But
wanted
it
to get
was
paid.
a farce, and he played her and was evil.
He
essentially.
bought her that guitar.
I mean, I'm just saying, like
totally
the whole
lost it. I
premise
don't-
in which
You've never seen it?
I guess I haven't. No.
Oh my god!
I know that scene where he's like dancing on the bleachers and singing or whatever.
yeah, I mean
And then-
that's nice. Obviously.
Yeah. He was playing her. He performed the whole dance
but
number
I'm
for her.
saying he could have just been like that from the jump because they were so similar. They basically were just best friends,
they're
but
both-
were kind
yeah.
of dicks. Like that's just you could have just been together and nice to each other without the false pretense of them not liking each other.
Where would you
Again,
go?
I also
Where
think
would you go from there?
I also
Because
think
they
okay.
would be this couple that are both outcasts that would be able to better each other by finding common ground and having like an ally within the school. That is a cool premise in and of
Yeah,
itself.
it takes 10 minutes. It's like an anti-bullying like campaign.
You can go so
Like,
many
I'm
different
sad.
ways
I'm
with
sad
it.
too.
I also
Wanna be
think
friends?
You can go so many
it
different
depends
ways
on
with
the
it.
actors again, their type of chemistry. Like some pairings do very well, like the bickering and all that. Some do not.
But you
And-
don't have to take the banter as far as like I hate you for that to work.
Okay, yeah, but if there isn't that tension there, then like you're basically just making a Hallmark movie.
No, but I guess to be fair, you can create other tension, right? So if these two people,
Yeah, you
are,
can
again,
create a
they're
forced
all-
or third act breakups.
No, but they're all these movies, right? Where including Pride and Prejudice, which you guys brought up, like
Tales
those
old as
people,
time.
those two people are very, very similar in their circumstances and the way that they kind of portray themselves in that world. They have so much strife with every other character that there's already so much other conflict that they could be allies to one another and the story still works.
But then the point wouldn't be about them getting together. It would be about them like being like, yo, fuck all these other people.
Yeah, you and me
would-
against the world.
would
What
just-
do you mean? That's still them. That's still about
but
them.
then that turns into the. Have you ever seen The End of the Fucking World? That show? It's
Okay.
these two kids,
You,
psychopaths.
you always bring up TV, man. Like this is a movie trope.
But even still,
I guess I'm more of a TV guy.
even still, that was a good. I liked that show. To be fair, number
Yeah.
one.
Burned his hand.
Well, I mean, it's a little creepy, but like they took it a
Yeah,
bit far
it
in
turns
terms of
it-
like.
So wait, what happened in the end of the fucking world? I totally forget. I remember
World,
watching
I
it,
never
but
saw
like,
that
what are you getting at?
Well, they so it's like me and you against the world, but they're both psychopaths.
So like natural born killers type thing.
Yes, that's what it devolves into.
No, they don't have to be psychopaths either. They could be the people who are right in the world, often as those characters were, right? Like
Yeah, like
Kat
Natural
in
Born
10 Things
Killers.
I Hate About You, she's kind of a bitch in the way that she like thinks that she's better than other people, but everyone else around her is extremely superficial outside of this other character who she happens to hate, I guess, even though they have everything in common.
Nah.
But I don't think it's really a hate. I don't really think it's she hates him. She just hates everybody.
Well, there's 10 things that she hates about him.
Yeah, at the end.
This is them off.
Most she doesn't hate him at all. Not even a little bit.
I think it's more realistic though because you ever hear opposites attract, right?
Yeah.
But they're not opposites. Okay.
Okay, the reason that this enemies to lovers is such it's a go-to trope is because a lot of times people get together with people that they don't like because they're so similar. They latch on to things that they don't like about themselves. And then they're like, oh, I fucking hate this stupid mother. But then you realize, like, oh, that person's very similar to me.
Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah. We both dress up like bats or like animals.
Bats and
in the
cats.
night.
But I guess that's
And it
fair only in that, like, that's fair, but I still feel like, okay, those two people, first of all, that's not like really enemies to lovers. Those are dalliances. Number one, that's not like the premise of either
I'm
one of those
stupid and
situations.
don't know what that
What's
means.
a dalliance?
Like, it's just like, well, it's just like, it's not what either one of those things are built around, is what I'm saying. So that's like
do you
neither
mean it's
here
not
nor
built?
there. Like,
It's like-
is any Batman movie built around the fact that Batman and Catwoman are together?
Batman Returns.
I mean,
Yeah. They're enemies.
but that's like
then they
not the
fuck.
point of the movie. That's not the point of the movie.
Yeah, it's
though.
this little subplot.
Exactly. So what I'm talking about is the reason why this trope doesn't work is it's often the backbone of every single movie, and without it, you just don't need it.
But
Yeah, but you wouldn't have the classic rom-coms that everybody talks about.
that's the thing.
There's plenty of other rom-coms
you're-
where you're not going enemies to lovers. It's friends to lovers, which is an even better story.
You're talking about a backbone. I'm talking about a crutch with my trope here, because literally most of the movies I named don't even freaking need it. Like, you talk about something like Shrek. Shrek overhears Fiona talking about like, oh, something so ugly can never be, go with something so beautiful. And Shrek thinks she's talking about him, doesn't want to talk to her, and just runs off angrily and doesn't even talk to her. You literally could have the story to where like Shrek, just because he really loves Fiona, just be like, you know what, she's gonna be happy with this king, and just leave then, and then realize, no, I've made a mistake. I need to go and like stop this wedding. That same exact story
Well-
could have been done even better.
Well, the thing about that is that misunderstanding is so compelling because it's for Shrek's character arc.
How? He doesn't even come to the conclusion himself. Donkey has to tell him.
I would agree. I would say I see where you're going, but I would say it's more so for Fiona's character arc, right? Like it's just like it's for us, the viewer, to see kind of what's really at stake for her, and like it's a little bit of I'm trying to think of the word.
But she doesn't realize it anyway. Shrek interrupts the wedding. She was fully prepared to go through with it, and then they're too late, and she turns into an
Yeah,
ogre.
because her problem in the whole movie is that she doesn't have any agency, and Shrek's whole thing is that he hates himself. So then,
I can relate to that.
So then he's like, I love myself, and I admit my feelings for this, girl, and then she's all like, yeah, I want a divorce, Lord Fuckwad, and then, right, that's how it goes, and then they
He is a
party with the
literal
dragon.
short king, my friend.
I mean,
He's
it's
something.
funny.
It
I
works.
said literal.
Like you picked one of the worst examples because that particular misunderstanding intertwines with the two main character arcs and like pays off both of that.
All right. I think I have enough here
No, you don't.
to have you guys go into your closing statements. Let's start with Jade.
Okay.
You're on the clock.
So enemies to lovers. I feel like I did a good job explaining this, but just to bring it all together, it is a stupid trope in that it is never necessary for anyone to get anything across. Main point being, in almost every instance in which it's used, the characters are so well matched that they wouldn't be enemies in the first place, and it would be much more compelling if they were just friends or even lovers to begin with, and then able to navigate the world together, because it makes sense as they are very, very similar to one another and they already would have that built-in camaraderie. I would say that in 10 Things I Hate About You, I don't want to keep bringing that up.
You should watch it, Danny.
But in 10 Things I Hate About You, Kat and I'm forgetting his name right now.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, yes, exactly. They would be very compelling as a couple.
Keep going. Keep going. You can figure
Okay, they'd be very compelling without a couple in that movie, without pretending like they hate each other. And there are a number of conflicts that they could resolve with one another that would be compelling to the viewer without them hating each other.
Okay. Paul, you are on the clock.
Okay, as I said, we're talking about worst movie trope here. Dan's trope is literally like you think about it 2 seconds and then you immediately forget that it happened. Except for if you're Danny, apparently.
There you go.
I honestly, that happens, and I forget about 2 seconds later. Apparently, you lay up wake at night just thinking about the movie you just saw and how a person coughed and died. You might want to reassess your priorities there about life. But it's annoying. It doesn't ruin a movie by any means. Yours, you even said it. It's a backbone of many movies. Yes, a backbone of many movies, many good movies. A lot of it depends on the actors and their chemistry and all that. My trope is literally just the writers saying like, hey, we need to prolong the movie another 20 minutes. It pretty much always adds nothing to the story. It adds nothing to the character. It makes you hate the characters for like 20 minutes. And it's annoying, and it should go away and never come back. Bye.
All right.
Wow.
Yeesh. All right, Danny.
Passion!
That was
Danny, you're on the clock.
Okay. Coughing equals dying. You said that you just forget about it because that's what it is. It happens. You're like, oh, I just forget about this character now. It's so lazy. There's way better ways to show that a character is dying or about to die, or even just have a surprise death. Like those are fun too. Because it's like the stupid or like the bomb example under the table, right? You have the suspense. It takes all that suspense away and just goes away. I think the third act misunderstanding though, it's like a proving ground for whatever arcs are going on. Like it's like a test. You know, you have this whole movie explaining that they're gonna get together, they'd be a good couple, but we don't really know how they would react in a certain situation because shit like that's gonna happen, right? Then the enemies to lovers, again, like. If you think about a rom-com, it's always the guy who hates the girl and the girl who hates the guy, and they get together, and it's a classic. Yeah, it's good. It's real good.
that is an annoying.
I think I finished the strongest there.
All right.
That's a awesome.
I usually have a star next to the winner that I have thought. I do not have one currently. I'm going to have to talk this one out as
Let's
we're
flip
going.
you off. That should deduct points right there.
These were all very well
think
thought out, I will say. So let's talk it out. Danny, so coughing. I wrote down, it's not a trope, but question mark. I heard you out. When you brought up, say that Ellie is a good way to bring this up. That is very true. But you don't really see her cough. You don't really hear her cough, anything like that.
Exactly. That's the point.
I know.
So each death should be done in silence.
Close your eyes and die.
Technically, you open your eyes when you die.
Moving on to Paul. All
Hello.
right. So, misunderstandings do make movies interesting. The whole Rachel and Ross thing, you know, the third act breakup, you know, they're on a break, whatever. I don't know. Shrek. Let's see. Shrek and Fiona, their character arcs, bring all that up. and prolonging the movie. That was a very good thing you were saying about prolonging the movie. It does. It usually does add an extra 20 to 30 minutes, and that's kind of annoying because, audiences are accustomed to long run times. But do we need to be? All right. And enemies to lovers. It's overused, but it works. Story still works in like Pride and Prejudice and all that stuff if this isn't there. Agreed. And when you brought up the characters are too well matched, I liked that as well. Because they always are too well matched. And eventually are going, you can see it coming a mile away, and it's really annoying. Okay. Time to start eliminating people here. Okay. Oh my God, this is so hard. Danny, I think I'm going to eliminate you. Sorry. I just don't think it's a trope, personally. Sorry.
No personal feelings.
I know, but
it's
true. I don't think it's a trope. I think everybody else agrees it's not really a trope.
It's like American Idol.
It is. and the winner of Duel of the Debates
America
today.
decides. David Archuleta. Oh, wait.
I think I'm going to have to go with the third act breakup.
Yes!
Paul, I just prolonging the movie. That was a very useful thing you had there. Jade, it's very close. I really was thinking.
I get it.
I just don't.
It was good.
It's close. But I had to pick one, and I think Paul had the better arguments. And
I think you're very fair and impartial.
All right. So next time on Duel of Debates, you can expect the best TV pilot episode. So that one, we'll have these two back on, Paul and Jade. And so we're Duel of Debates. You can find us on Instagram with, what is it, DOTD?
Duel of the Debates.
Just Duel of the Debates? Okay, cool.
Yes,
Just Duel of the Debates. Love that. And also, find us over on Seen It Before. We're going to keep doing new movies. I think in the new year, we're going to just start doing new movies and maybe our Mission Impossible rewatch. But that is to be determined. But yeah, I'm Dan.
I'm Danny. You can find me at Instagram at Danny_Wasp, my letterbox and serialized at DJ Wasp, or my YouTube channel, which is just Danny Wasp. That's my name. You guys, if you guys have anything.
I'm Paul. You can find me on the street somewhere probably, or at karaoke every Friday night, or Saturday night, I should say. Also, I have a TikTok page, which doesn't matter because TikTok's about to get banned. So, but it's about Cobra Kai.
Good show.
Paulie is Cobra Kai.
Every Saturday?
Almost.
I'm Jade. I don't have anything.
Okay. Good to know.
Me here.
All right. Well, until next week. We'll see you then.